The Eastern Question and the war that broke out in 1877 between Turkey and Russia.
Of the North by Elder James White. Did the rest of other pioneers also disagree? Answer: no, only James White disagreed with his brethren. Ellen G. White Writings on the Eastern Question. The Eastern Camp Meetings. When we arrived at the campground at Groveland, Mass., we found an excellent meeting in progress. There were 47 tents on the ground, besides 3 large tents, the one for the congregation being 80 by 125 feet in dimensions. The meetings on the Sabbath were of the deepest interest. The church was revived and strengthened, while sinners and backsliders were aroused to a sense of their danger. LS 225. 2. The meetings on the Sabbath were of the deepest interest. The church was revived and strengthened, while sinners and backsliders were aroused to a sense of their danger. R.H. September 6, 1877. Sunday morning boats and trains poured their living freight upon the ground in thousands. Elder Smith spoke in the morning upon the Eastern Question. The subject was of special interest, and the people listened with the most earnest attention. LS 225. 3. Sunday morning the weather was still cloudy, but before it was time for the people to assemble the sun shone forth. Boats and trains poured their living freight upon the ground, as was the case last year. Elder Smith spoke in the morning upon the Eastern Question. The subject was of special interest, and the people listened with the most earnest attention. It seemed to be just what they wanted to hear. In the afternoon it was difficult for me to make my way to the desk through the standing crowd. Upon reaching it, a sea of heads was before me. The mammoth tent was fully seated, the seats having comfortable backs. These were all filled, yet thousands stood about the tent, making a living wall several feet deep. R.H. September 6, 1877. Sunday morning the weather was still cloudy, but before it was time for the people to assemble, the sun shone forth. Boats and trains poured their living freight upon the ground in thousands. Elder Smith spoke in the morning upon the Eastern Question. The subject was of special interest, and the people listened with the most earnest attention. In the afternoon it was difficult to make my way to the desk through the standing crowd. Upon reaching it, a sea of heads was before me. The mammoth tent way full, and thousands stood outside, making a living wall several feet deep. My lungs and throat pained me very much, yet I believed that God would help me upon this important occasion. While speaking, my weariness and pain were forgotten as I realized that I was speaking to a people that did not regard my words as idle tales. The discourse occupied over an hour, and the very best attention was given throughout. As the closing hymn was being sung, the officers of the Temperance Reform Club of Haverhill solicited me, as on the previous year, to speak before their association on Monday evening. Having an appointment to speak at Danvers, I was obliged to decline the invitation. 4T 279. 1. James White dies in 1881. August 30, 1846, Miss Harmon was married to James White, a native of Palmyra, Somerset County, Maine. From the time of their marriage, Mrs. White's life was closely linked with that of her husband in strenuous gospel work until his death, August 6, 1881. They traveled extensively over the United States, preaching and writing, planting and building, organizing and administering. Time and test have proved how broad and firm were the foundations they laid, and how wisely and well they built. LS 470. 4. In 1897, TTHE book, Daniel and Revelation, was written to clarify the correct understanding the Eastern Question and the King of the North Turkey in Daniel 11:40-45. Did the prophet, Ellen G. White agree with LDER Uriah Smith on Daniel and the Revelation? I am in great travail of soul for our people. We are living in the perils of the last days. A superficial faith results in a superficial experience. There is a repentance that needs to be repented of. All genuine experience in religious doctrines will bear the impress of Jehovah. All should see the necessity of understanding the truth for themselves individually. We must understand the doctrines that have been studied out carefully and prayerfully. It has been revealed to me that there is among our people a great lack of knowledge in regard to the rise and progress of the third angel's message. There is great need to search the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, and learn the texts thoroughly, that we may know what is written. 1 NL 57. 1. The Lord calls for workers to enter the canvassing field that the books containing the light of present truth may be circulated. The people in the world need to know that the signs of the times are fulfilling. Take to them the books that will enlighten them. Daniel and Revelation, the great controversy, patriarchs and prophets, and the desire of ages should now go to the world. The grand instruction contained in Daniel and Revelation has been eagerly perused by many in Australia. This book has been the means of bringing many precious souls to a knowledge of the truth. Everything that can be done should be done to circulate thoughts on Daniel and the Revelation. I know of no other book that can take the place of this one. It is God's helping hand. 21 MR 444. 3. I consider that book Thoughts on Daniel and the Revelation should go everywhere. It has its place and will do a grand, good work. Letter 25A, 1889, p. 3. To Brother Eldridge, September 8, 1889. 1 MR 60. 1. Speaking, in the 90s, of Elder Smith's books, one of the leaders in our colporteur work asked Mrs. White, "You believe they are inspired, do you not?" Letter 15, 1895, p. 5. To Mr. Frank Belden, June 8, 1895. 1 MR 60. 2. Indicative of her recognition of the folly of the question, she replied, "You may answer that question, I shall not." Ibid. 1 MR 60. 3. A book by Uriah Smith, Thoughts on Daniel and the Revelation, Rev. ed. of 1944, discusses the prophetic timing of this prophecy on pp. 506 to 517. HF 419. 5. Those who are preparing to enter the ministry, who desire to become successful students of the prophecies, will find Daniel and the Revelation an invaluable help. They need to understand this book. It speaks of past, present, and future, laying out the path so plainly that none need err therein. Those who will diligently study this book will have no relish for the cheap sentiments presented by those who have a burning desire to get out something new and strange to present to the flock of God. The rebuke of God is upon all such teachers. They need that one teach them what is meant by godliness and truth. The great, essential questions which God would have presented to the people are found in Daniel and the Revelation. There is found solid, eternal truth for this time. Everyone needs the light and information it contains. 1 MR 61. 2. Topic. Daniel chapter 11,